I've worked for other companies and other banks, and it was just where you go to work, you do your job, you go home. Happy State Bank, it's still work, but you feel comfortable at work. You're happy. You spend a lot of time at work, and when you enjoy your coworkers and do enjoy what you're doing, then it's great. And Happy State Bank's a great bank. When you're enjoying your job and you're enjoying your atmosphere, your coworkers, then it does rub off. Your customers see that. Yes.
Hi, may we ask everyone to please stand? And I'm sorry, I didn't notice if Reverend Dean Dowell is here today. Greg, excuse me. I'm going to then defer to Commissioner Sims who will give our invitation.
Would you pray with me, please? Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. And Lord, thank you for our community. Thank you for all the people that make our community what it is, whether it be a volunteer position, an elected position, our first responders, whoever. They all contribute to this being a wonderful place to live. Lord, we thank you for all these blessings. We ask for your guidance and your wisdom as we make decisions for this community. We thank you for our Lord Jesus Christ, who makes all of this possible. We ask these things in his name. Amen.
Commissioner, thank you. Will you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission held on the third floor of City Hall this Tuesday at 3 p.m. The first item of business on today's agenda is the minutes. Attached is a copy of those minutes, and they're regarding the meeting held on January 22nd, 2013. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Not entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second for the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. Ordinance number 7388. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of 2 lots in the vicinity of Airport Boulevard and Tilt Road from agricultural district to planned development district for the expansion of the existing Bell Helicopter Textron Company operations. Are there any questions from the audience in regards to this item? Any from the commission? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7388.
I second.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7388. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. Ordinance number 7389. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of a lot in the vicinity of Glen Oak Lane and Bell Street from light commercial district to heavy commercial district. Are there any questions about this item from the audience or from the commission? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 7389.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7389. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. Ordinance number 7390. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance vacating and abandoning a 2.58 acre drainage easement in section 39, block 9, DSNF survey, Randall County, in the vicinity of Coulter Street and South Bend Road. Are there any questions about this item from the audience or from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance number 7390.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7390. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. Resolution. This resolution supports the efforts of a coalition of cities, the Alliance of XL Municipalities, to oppose legislation that would jeopardize Amarillo's ability to fully participate in the electrical utility rate-making process and support legislation that continues Amarillo's original jurisdiction in such matters. Are there any comments from the audience in regards to this item? And I would hope some of the commissioners, because we've discussed this before we vote on this resolution, if they have comments about this resolution to help inform the public about why this is here.
Mayor, could we possibly have council explain, mainly for the edification of this audience, since it doesn't make that I know as to what this resolution means?
Please.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Under current law, the electrical utility companies and the gas utility companies, when they want to go about raising or adjusting their rates, must first apply to you, the City Commission, the governing body. They must come to the city. That's what is meant by original jurisdiction. You then have the opportunity to approve their request, or deny their request, or in many cases compromise and settle on their request. In either of those cases, when the utility company is dissatisfied with the ruling of the City Commission, they appeal that electrical decision to the Public Utility Commission, or if it's a gas rate case, it's appealed to the Texas Railroad Commission. And those state agencies in Austin then have the final say as to what our ratepayers will pay here in Amarillo. There is legislation that has been drafted and to be circulated around the state in various circles, which would turn that upside down. It would remove any role for the governing body, the City Commission, take away your original jurisdiction. The cases would all be filed directly with the state agency in Austin. And then the second aspect of these bills would take away the ability for the city to have its cost reimbursed. When we analyze these rate cases, whether it's electric or gas, we have to hire experts in those fields, economists and fuel experts and accountants, etc. And the city has that cost reimbursed by the utility companies. That cost does get placed into the rate structure, so ultimately all of us pay it when we pay our gas bill or our electric bill. It is that ability, though, to be reimbursed which allows the city to hire those experts to challenge the utility companies to drive those denials or those settlements on the large increases often sought. One of the bills being circulated would take away the ability of cities to be reimbursed for that cost. So this is a resolution authorizes the city of Amarillo to join with other panhandle cities in alliance to work in Austin in the legislative process to maintain your current original jurisdiction so that you elected persons have a voice in the utility rates charged by these corporations, and it also authorizes us to oppose the legislation that would take away the ability to be reimbursed for the necessary costs to be effective in their original jurisdiction.
Mr. Norris, I understand and I've seen from other things that when we request information to deal with that from the utilities, you can darn near fill a small file room with documents that they produce. So in other words, 20, 30, 40 boxes of documents that have to be sorted through and dealt with. So it's not a simple case like we might think. It is very complex and needs experts to sort through those things. It's a tremendous cost, is it not?
It is, Mayor. It quickly runs into a couple of $100,000. The law firm in Austin that specializes in utility law actually has a separate conference room for each case because it literally is boxes and tens of thousands of pages of documents. Of course, much of it nowadays comes on discs from the utility companies. You have your computers and your printer stuff in there to investigate, review that information, and sort it out to your experts to get their affidavits back.
Well, okay, any other comments about this resolution?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Here again, this is me personally, one commissioner speaking. I think we must fight tooth and toenail and claw and do whatever we have to maintain local jurisdiction over anything that we currently have. We've lost enough already. And we found here a couple of months ago when we were fighting Atmos on the gas increase, and we went before the Railroad Commission, And I mean, they just ran roughshod over us. And of course, remember, these are elected officials. We didn't donate anything to their campaign. And I'm gonna throw rocks at Atmos because they damn sure put a lot of money into those campaigns. And guess who won before the Railroad Commission? Atmos. They didn't even read, they didn't even look at the documentation we presented. This is the way they're going across the state. The Railroad Commission is gonna make all these decisions, and Atmos now will only have to make one application to cover the whole panhandle of Texas. And I'm talking about from Oklahoma to New Mexico, all the way down to middle of Odessa and beyond. They go to one entity, and we all have to join together, and we don't have the same needs as Midland, Odessa, or some of these other even smaller areas. But they're taking away these things from cities and the authority that we have. And this, if this bill hits the floor of the legislature, it will be another move to remove some of those areas of responsibility that we have and that we can handle better, because it's not the same in Amarillo, Texas as it is in, I don't know, Pflugerville or Fredericksburg, or you name it.
Jim, when we went there, they actually made the comment to us that this is moving toward a state regulatory issue that will have no influence at a local level. And some of the result of that is we get to end up paying for infrastructure in, for instance, Midland, Odessa, that's expanding exponentially. We all know that story. Yet our ratepayers here pay for that infrastructure that we get no benefit from. They did not pay for ours when we were in growth mode. And now in return, we get to pay for theirs and get nothing in return, and don't even get to get heard because they said, we have already heard this case and we will not hear your case. We were not allowed to present our case, which we prepared. Correct?
Correct.
Mr. Norris?
Yes, that's correct, Mayor, and that was in October when you were told that this is going to become a statewide system, and here we are in January, and the bills are being distributed.
Well, and I commented too, and I think it's important. We dealt with franchise agreements with other franchisees. This is not to say that franchisees are not doing a good job. I visited Sudlink with the Chamber of Commerce, and they commented. I said to them, when will we be back up? And they said, oh no, you don't have authority over that anymore. We worked with them when Cox was sold to Sudlink, and then they renegotiated the franchise. And to protect the citizens, the city worked very hard to protect the citizens and get great service and do this. And I think they responded. But they actually said that that won't happen again because this kind of authority was taken away. Is that not correct?
It is correct, Mayor. The city long ago lost its original jurisdiction over telephone rates and more recently over cable television rates and programming. And we're now seeing the same move to strip the local control over gas and electric utility rates.
Well, I was just going to say, if we lose local control, we have no bargaining power, we'll end up with state rates, so.
We'll have state rates, and then what is the need for that function of that utility commission?
You know, one of the point is, you know, Texas, if you look at it as a separate country, we're the 14th largest economy in the world. And inasmuch as they're trying to gradually push control of rates like this over the Public Utility Commission, that's their stated goal, then you've got the 14th largest economy in the world that is controlled in terms of utility rates by 3 appointees. You cannot imagine taking it farther away from control by the people than that. And so this is the kind of thing we'll really do have to decide if we're going to draw a line in the sand.
And as a state, we certainly fight too much influence by the federal government, yet as a community, we're not allowed to do that with our state. And I think it trickles down to the people sitting out here and those listening to this and what the news media gets us out to. People need to continue to fight for local control. Thank you. Okay. With that, are there any other comments from the audience about this resolution or from the commission? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we support the efforts of the coalition of cities in how will word this, to oppose the legislation that would jeopardize our ability to fully participate in control of rate-making process.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second for the resolution as Commissioner Reed stated. Number 5 on the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. The consent agenda. It's recommended the following items be approved: that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. First item is A, the purchase of heavy-duty motor grader. The second is B, award of housing rehabilitation contract. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration by the commission? If not, is there any discussion needed by the audience about these items or by the commission? I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes with a 4-0 vote. That concludes today's agenda of this scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission. It is, however, customary at this time to allow citizens of this community in matters pertaining to city policy, programs, and services to speak to the commission. And the floor is now open for such comments. We welcome those. Thank you. If you could come forward, because we have a pretty large group today, I'm going to ask Mr. Norris to set the guidelines for these remarks again, so we are fair in our time, the equity to everybody about time for these comments.
Thank you, Mayor. When the mayor recognizes you, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Your time will then begin. You will have 3 minutes for your presentation. When you have 30 seconds left, you will hear a tone, but your time is not up. You may continue for 30 more seconds, and then you'll hear a continuous tone, which does indicate your time has expired. Because of the Texas Open Meetings Act, you need to understand that the City Commission is not allowed to debate, deliberate, or engage with you to any great extent during this public forum, because these topics are not on our agenda. They are restricted by law to simply respond to the statement of fact or policy, or a statement of law, or to refer the mayor to staff, or to discuss perhaps to place it on a future agenda. Those are the limits of their options during this time. And so while they're very interested in your comments and they will be taking notes, if they give a very brief response, it is because of the constraints of the Texas Open Meetings Act.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. And yes, ma'am, if you would state your name and address.
Lisa Matthews, 2516 Ashley Lane, Amarillo, Texas,
Thank you.
79118. Good afternoon. My name is Louisa Matthews, and I'm the director of Impact Futures. My coalition members are here. There are just a few of them. Would you guys stand just for a second? While they're standing, I'll tell you about Impact Futures. We're working to reduce substance abuse among teens in Amarillo. Our federal grant is hosted by the Office of National Drug Control Policy as well as SAMHSA. We wanted to bring a concern to you right now about the rising public health issue about synthetic drugs. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, synthetic cannabinoids, also known as spice or K2, are mixtures of herbal material that are typically sprayed with a synthetic compound chemically similar to THC. However, THC is not in these drugs, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. These products are available for purchase in various retail outlet stores, tobacco shops, head shops, all in Amarillo, and made usually in the back room of that store. And I can be very graphic and explain to you how it's made. It's really disturbing. But they're sold in glossy psychedelic packaging that seems innocent enough, but when ingested or smoked, produces effects similar to the illicit drugs like cocaine, marijuana, ecstasy, meth, or opiate painkiller drugs. The products are often marketed as incense, but they can be smoked, and when smoked or ingested, produce horrible effects. The DEA has already placed a large number of the synthetic cannabinoids into the Schedule 1, which is the class of substances that carries a high potential for abuse and currently have no medical use. Finding that placement into the Schedule 1 was necessary to prevent an imminent hazard to public safety. In December of 2011, in Amarillo, Texas, we had one head shop that sold these products. 1 month later, we had 14. We've spoken to the clerks. They have reported making $30,000 a day, and their margin is 300%. Our biggest deal is trying to get education and to make people aware of this, especially parents. Some of the fancy names are Mr. Miyagi, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Dead Man Walking, Comatose, Demon, Four Kings, and many other names that are bright and cheery, obviously. Anyway, that they're being marketed towards your kids, my kids, our kids. Chemists making these chemical sprays will change one of the molecular components, and then they'll have a new chemical. So all the laws that have been signed, they ban a certain chemical, but when the molecular structure is changed, you have a whole new chemical. and so they can continue to use this. So I gave you some information that talks about the effects of this stuff, and if you'll read that, you'll see that AISD students aren't doing this. 570 AISD juniors in the last year have tried this. And in the past 30 days, you'll see the percentages there. But according to Amarillo Poison Control, their volume of calls has skyrocketed since January 2012. 90% of those calls have been from our own emergency rooms. Thank you.
Ms. Matthews, thank you. I'm going to ask if we could, if there's others that want to comment on this issue, if they would come next, if others in the audience would allow that. And then because we can't really have a really broad discussion on this, I would like to refer this to our staff to deal with. But is there anyone else that would like to comment on this subject? It's an important subject. Thank you. If you'd come in order then, and we'll get all these comments in at this point. We welcome you all. Sir, your name and address, please.
My name is Steve Patterson. I live at 7807 Amarillo Drive in Amarillo, Texas. And I'd like to thank Mayor Harpo and you and the Amarillo City Commissioners for the opportunity to speak to you today in support of an ordinance that will ban the sale or distribution of illicit synthetic drugs, such as K2, spice, etc. It should also ban the sale or distribution of drug paraphernalia and make it illegal for someone to have synthetic drugs and or drug paraphernalia in their possession. I'm currently employed at Pantex, where I worked for 31 years. I've lived in Randall County for 35 years. 16 of those years I've been a resident right here in Amarillo, where I currently live. I'm a past board member of the Children's Miracle Network, where I served 5 years. I also volunteered 3 years as a local court-appointed special advocacy CASA, as an advocate for physically and sexually abused children. My wife Tracy and I founded Higher Focus Ministries, a CC3 nonprofit ministry. After our special needs son, Brady Maddox, basically passed away at 13 months old in 2002. I tell you these things not to draw attention to myself, but rather present to you that I am fully engaged in the community as a concerned taxpayer, a civic volunteer, most importantly, a concerned parent. Speaking about being a parent, I'm a parent of 5 children, 3 girls, 2 boys. I have 2 grandchildren, all of them born and raised here in Amarillo, Texas. Why am I here today? My oldest son, Thomas Patterson, was a recovering drug addict. He served time in the Texas prison system for illegal possession of a controlled substance, hydrocodone. On February 4th, 2011, Tom was now living a spiritually changed life in Midland, Texas, with the job that he first had, his first job ever, where he had health benefits, 401k, he had everything in order. All of his bills were paid up. When he didn't show up for work, the Midland police found him in his home, found him in his bed as if he was asleep. Shockingly, to our family's disbelief, he had passed away. I have with me the police report from Midland. I have the autopsy report that was done on my son. I can tell you that there were no illegal drugs found on the premises. There was no suspicion that the police reported. And so, based on that, we really didn't know what it was that my son passed away. What they did find, and what alarmed me as a parent, was 41 packets of synthetic marijuana. There was also a pipe used there for smoking. And so what it left me, in talking with the individuals on the autopsy, the doctor that performed the autopsy, they could not detect whether or not that was even evident or not. So I plead to you on behalf of all the children and young adults here in Amarillo, Texas, we need to ban this synthetic marijuana. We don't need to take the risk of this happening to any other children.
Mr. Patterson, we'll have the next speaker in a moment. I know you did not come here for recognition, but your credibility would be unquestioned about an issue so important to us and our community, and we commend your work. Thank you. Sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Harold Hersey. I'm the executive pastor from St. John Baptist Church. Our address is 2301 Northwest 14th Avenue. I come before the mayor and commission as a concerned youth pastor also. I am also currently serving as the vice chair on Impact Futures. The reason for me to stand this day is because I find that it's personal to me, because I had a nephew that flatlined 3 times on the K2 and the 806. What also concerns me is that we have one smoke shop right across the street from our alternate high school. Within 1,000 yards, it's right there. As we see the evidence of some of the kids are sampling with this stuff, they keep disguising it and putting it in these different packages and so forth. So I have a great concern, not only as a parent, but as an active community leader, and also as a minister, that this should not continue to go on, and that there should be a ban. It's a great service to our community that there's one right across from a school. They don't have to necessarily go themselves, but there's enough people that they give them $10, $15, $20 to go buy this stuff, and then they go off down the streets on Amarillo. They check into the sleep-in down the street, and they smoke this stuff. And I think it's a great travesty that not only that we have to fight teen pregnancy, we have to fight the violence that's in the community. Now we have to deal with not only with marijuana and cocaine and heroin. Now we have to deal with this synthetic drug that's killing our kids slowly, because it's not known in the community, and some people think it's just rare cases. But yet we're seeing that it's continuing to grow at a steady rate, and these smoke shops are just popping up. They get shut down, or they change the packaging, or they go undercover for about 5 or 6 months, and then next thing you know, they back up and they're selling these materials again. And I think that as business owners, it's a travesty that they even allow these smoke shops to even exist. Though they said that it's legal, but we're finding out they're doing more illegal stuff than they're doing legal stuff. So I have a great concern with it. And as I looked at young kids that's going on, it's right there on the corner. The smoke shop that I'm talking about is right there on the corner of Hughes and Amarillo Boulevard. And I'm seeing packages from the two totems right across the street. I'm finding these wrappers, but they're trying to hide behind trash cans behind the store. And I just don't think that if we're going to have a bright future in Amarillo, that these smoke shops should continue. Thank you.
Reverend, your concern about our community is noted. I know you were very involved as you moved to town and have been with youth, and we recognize that. And again, I think the expert opinion is important to us. Thank you for being here. Anyone else would like to make a comment?
I'd like to point out, too, just for the benefit of the audience, the police chief is at the back, and he's hearing all the comments that you're making here today, and we appreciate you being here, Chief.
If there's no other comments on this topic, here's what I'd like to do. Because we are limited with open meetings rules about an item that is not on the agenda, I will tell you simply that we will definitely refer this to staff. It has been referred to staff in a way because I know you were able to, right before lunch, send us the ordinance that you proposed. And I know you've been working on that very, very difficult topic. We've talked for 4 weeks trying to sort through the ins and outs. And I think the important thing to me, I can't speak for the other commissioners, but certainly after the meeting, they would be happy to comment to press. I wish there was more press here. And they're able to do that afterwards, and certainly will refer to staff. But the important thing to me personally is that it's effective what we do. And so I'm going to ask at this point, with a very cursory look at this, our city attorney, we asked him to take time out of his day, even though we had a prior meeting, to give a quick look at this. It is not a total look. Certainly there'll be more looked at. But I would ask if he would comment at this time about what we've first seen, and keep in mind that to me, and you can get comments from other commissioners after this meeting, but it's very, very important that what we do is effective, that this is stopped, that it's dealt with. I'm talking personally. I'm not talking as a commission. It's not an item for discussion today. But I would like to ask our city attorney to answer my question about effectiveness and what he's seen in this. Mr. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, it is a brief and cursory review between returning from lunch and coming into this meeting. First of all, I commend the writers of the ordinance. They certainly, in the recitals, certainly describe the problem. We appreciate the testimony today from the persons who spoke. you clearly described what we all understand is the problem. The greatest difficulty that we face in crafting an ordinance of this manner or a state law is definitional, and trying to write definitions that get to the abuse of substances without inadvertently outlawing otherwise legitimate substances. And this problem becomes all the more pronounced when the abusers are abusing legitimate substances, such as bath salts. If it's a legitimate substance, we don't want to outlaw that inadvertently by whatever we're doing. Part of the ordinance, again, the first substantive paragraph would have us outlaw what is already outlawed by Texas Health and Safety Code. So we'll let the state law handle what it's already handling. It then lists a series of chemicals which I would submit is going to be subject to the same weakness that the speakers have already pointed out. Anytime you identify a chemical, all a chemist has to do is change one molecule and you now chemically have a different substance. That will be a challenge under this ordinance. There's a provision down toward the bottom of the third page. Again, a quick read. It has a lot of fuzzy words. The word similar, the word may produce, the word legitimate. All those will need to be fleshed out as to who decides what is a legitimate non-narcotic purpose or what's an illegitimate non-narcotic purpose. This could be a little bit of the eye of the beholder. Many years ago, before I was an attorney, I was an adult probation officer. And back in the 70s, I can tell you that one substance was whiteout, the liquid paper whiteout. They began to sniff it. And it wasn't long after that the manufacturer took out the magic ingredient and wouldn't white things out anymore. But it didn't make kids high either. And now I'm sure they still make it. It's just the tape kind. If there was a product with a completely legitimate purpose, that's an example of what we want to watch out for. Alcohol, caffeine, those are substances widely accepted in our society, and technically under that paragraph G, someone could argue we've outlawed alcohol and caffeine. So those are the challenges we'll have in a definitional sense. Another comment, the ordinance proposes to make it unlawful for a person to use these substances. It goes into great detail about breathing, inhaling, drinking. That's going to be difficult because in America, under our system of laws, we don't criminalize use. We criminalize possession, and we criminalize secondary behavior. If you drive a car, or if you're a danger to yourself or others out in a public place, we arrest you for your behavior, or we arrest you for possession of a substance. But the mere use of a substance, for one thing, there's no evidence then. We have difficulty gathering evidence. So generally we don't outlaw use, but let's see if we can work on that. In a more general sense, turning from the draft, which I appreciate this evening, there are some general legal principles, legal concerns that we would invite you to work with us on. One is what we call preemption. There's a doctrine in the law that says when a higher level of government has acted, i.e. the federal government or the state government, then a lesser government cannot legislate the same area. So if there's a federal law or state law, we have federal food and drug labeling laws, and the ordinance seems to be going toward a labeling type, a branding type solution. We'll have to see how that reconciles, or if we've been preempted by the Federal Pure Food and Drug Act. At the state level, certainly there has been, legislative activity in the last session to outlaw K2 and spice. Chapter 481, Health and Safety Code is mentioned in the ordinance. There are some preemption issues. State law already may address some of that. Then we get into the more pragmatic issues. When we write an ordinance or a law, the last thing we want to do is write a law that's impossible for these gentlemen to enforce. You've watched television, perhaps you've done a ride-along. We have what are called presumptive tests. If there's a substance found on the suspect, we can put a chemical into it and it turns pink or blue, and that means it's it's cocaine, or it's or some other. There are no presumptive tests for bath salts. There are no presumptive tests for K2. There are no presumptive tests for potpourri, whatever substance that the young people are choosing to abuse. Instead, we would simply have to make a report, let the bad girl or bad guy go. The city would then have to incur the cost of packaging that, sending it to a private laboratory, and having them tell us, what is it? Is it something under our ordinance that's been outlawed or not? And so the cost of this, since there is no cheap, quick test to be done in the field that we can then arrest the person and take them to jail, we're going to have to let them go, send them off to a laboratory in Dallas or Houston, wherever there's a label lab, incur that cost, and if it's something that is prescribed by the ordinance, issue a warrant, go out and find the bad guy or bad girl again. So the lack of a presumptive test is a practical issue that we'll need to consider. And then finally, I've already mentioned just the difficulty with vagueness or overreaching in the definitions that are written. So that's after just 10, 15 minutes. This is basic law, and it illustrates, I think, the difficulty, whether you're running a city ordinance or a state statute or a federal law, it's the same test in America. We have to pass the same litmus test about being clear, concise, specific, and constitutional. Same test, whether it's the federal government, the state government, or a city council writing an ordinance. And so those are the challenges that we face, and I think it's why you've seen some hesitancy by the legislature in tackling this issue. It's very difficult. Nonetheless, I checked this afternoon, and as of a couple of hours ago, we have 3 bills now pending in the Texas legislature: Senate Bill 263, Senate Bill 264, and House Bill 124. All of them dealing with various aspects of synthetic drugs, K2, spikes, those types of things. Mayor, I would suggest that perhaps for a future agenda, if the commission wants to, staff can bring you a report. Perhaps the city commission would want to pass a resolution, just as we endorsed on a legislative matter on this agenda regarding utility rates. Perhaps you would want to take a position in support of this legislation. We'll get copies of those bills and bring you back an analysis. And so that would conclude my comments, unless there's something further.
For those of you who are here with this issue today, we encourage you to keep fighting. I do personally. I can't say we now because it's public comment. But this is an emotional issue. It's a critically important issue, and I recognize it's a life or death issue with young people. And I believe that if you want to express your concerns or ask for comments from the commissioners after this meeting, that my belief is, I can't hold them, but my belief is you'll get resounding support for this. The difficulty is this: it's sort of like making sausage. I love eating it. I don't want to watch it made or make it. And that's sort of like legislation. We heard a brief description of this from our city attorney in the work session. And I would tell you that around the table I saw faces drop. We want to be supportive. We need to be supportive. Our community needs to push this. And I am distressed that only the Amarillo Globe News and the Amarillo Independent are here now. I hope that we're getting this message out to the press, and I hope we shine a very bright light on the face of these shops that are hurting our young people. And I will tell you that I personally will do anything to support the effort, but it has to be effective. So if we need to pass a resolution, I think that we'd get pretty good support, asking 3 commissioners to bring that resolution, but let's be sure it's effective. And I would challenge our staff to work with you very closely to craft whatever is really effective and really stops this. One of the issues I'm concerned with, and I see Potter County Commissioner here, that we don't want to, and we had to deal with this, another issue that we were very concerned about as a legislative body for the city, that if we pass something and force the issue out to the county to deal with, which could happen, I don't think that's good. I don't think that that's proper. And so for us to simply put a window dressing on this and not address the root of the problem, you are trying to address the root of the problem. I would support that. I believe this commission would. I refer it to staff. I ask for your continued effort in this. We will continue it, and hopefully we can come up with something that we can give very strongly to the legislature to bring this issue to bear on those that are destroying our young people. Thank you. Are there any other comments that need to come before the commission at this point? From anyone else, we'd encourage comments. Please, sir. Welcome.
My name is Terry Overhand, live at 4523 Willow Street, Trade. I guess it's more of a problem that I wish the council could look into or something, dealing with the gun range behind, right immediately behind the home. I've been told even by some of the people that actually shoot there to other people that they don't shoot the same shot all the time. And I mean, sometimes it has me, and we actually left this weekend, and my family got out of our house because it was so loud. It sounds like a 50 caliber. I've heard 50 caliber, and it sounds just like going off over there. And we just need some help over there with that. Everything else that we've done, which, you know, we spoke about, there's some drainage that was fixed. It's been a wonderful job. As far as the city workers coming out and doing things, you know, there's some substandard things going over in treatments that needs to be addressed. It's horrible. And the city has come out and did way more than they should have. I mean, I commend the workers. I mean, the work overtime to come out, fix your sewers that weren't working. You know, the drainage is 1,000 times better than it was. But the gun range is not playing fair. I mean, they're not playing by the rules. You know, they cut part of the barn down instead of raising it. They move it over by the Comanche trails. And it's just a mess. I mean, it really is. And I have a dog that actually cowers in my closet. You know, and shakes. You know, and it's just, it's not livable. I mean, I tried to trade out of the house the other day. I wanted $70,000, and I can't afford to take that either. And it is a gun range. And I've talked to them, and the thing is, they'll tell me, oh, it's the winners, the Lemon 4-H Club. And when it comes down to it, as soon as I get back to my house, it's quiet. I mean, the wind don't change that quick, guys. You know, and it just doesn't do it. And I wish, if anybody could look into it, if we set up meetings or do something, I don't know if this needs to be on a different agenda. If I'm out of order here, I really don't know. This is my first time ever speaking publicly in my life. But it is miserable over there. It's actually, I've actually had to go to the doctor to do medication just to calm me down. I'm a real quick tempered idiot. And I don't want to get in trouble, guys.
Terry,
I go over there with my knife, and they got guns. They're going to I'm going to get the hell beat out of it.
When you called, of course, we went and looked at a lot.
And I tell you something, you did a wonderful job. I mean, no, seriously, you did.
But the question,
you did more than you should have.
The city is concerned about all the issues brought up. The question about the gun range, we did refer to staff, and certainly there's property rights issues, and they can't be resolved easily, but I will tell you that certainly, again, we refer this to staff and see if there's anything additional can be done. I really believe that private negotiation between you and the gun range is best. I will tell you.
But I'd rather it arbitrate. I don't lose my temper because the last time I was there, and I was really nice about it, and when I walked out, the guy actually said, and he was the CEO, he said, "Don't bring your..."
Terry, again, because of open meetings laws, and I know you don't do this, we can't get into debate, but I will tell you that we would listen, and if I can sit down with him, with you, and talk, I do that as a private citizen. I don't know that we can deal with the private. They've been there for a long
I know that, but they have to change with us too. We're there too to stay, and we can all, figure something out to work together.
Well,
I think everybody can.
If you'd like to give me another call, we'll sit down and visit about it. I'd be happy to take the call. Okay?
Thank you.
If you've got a deal there, write down my phone number. It's 679. Well, I'll give it to you afterwards.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Yes, ma'am. We encourage you.
Warren Center, 4702 Hawk Lane. One of my issues is about his community. about the city's part, but it appears that Tradewinds Airport is on Brando County property. A
Correct.
few years ago, they built 2 big homes there. And since that time, even during the time you were asking people not to waste water, the water runs 24/7. It has caused erosion along 46. Now they have big equipment out there, supposedly fixing this, but the water is still running. It runs all the time. And even on the front page of the Globe News, these 2 men were listed as the most water users. And so, are we the taxpayers paying for this? Who's fixing the road?
Oh, well, good question, very legitimate question.
Who's fixing all that damage that's been done?
Well, I'll refer that to city staff again, but I know one of those individuals drilled his own water well, so I don't think that's, we're not selling.
does
his
what?
property. He drilled his own water well.
Well, why is he listed on the front page of the Globe News?
That was after he was listed on the front page of the Globe News.
But he's still running water down this
If I
way.
could, I would, if you want to go ahead with your comments, but we'll refer this to staff. We certainly will pursue them if they're wasting water, and not only from the standpoint of wasting water, but certainly a great question you bring up about repairing the damage.
Okay, and the other comment is, from I-40 to 27th, Ross Street, where it, it divides and goes to Osage. During Sam's working hours, we cannot get, you can't go to the post office.
I agree.
And something, you have to put police officers out there to direct traffic. I know Walmart does their own, but something needs to be done with that traffic. And I've been told by another senior citizen, well, just go 4 or 5 blocks around the way. Why should I have to do that?
I also think that's a good question. I travel that street and have for the last 30 years, every day, 6 days a week, and it is what I call, and others refer to as a suicide lane.
It is.
Because you get in that lane and somebody's trying to turn into Sam's and you can't get to the post office and vice versa. Staff, again, I would refer this to you. I don't know, I know that.
Well, I had an accident here a few weeks ago. A young boy ran into me because of all this congestion. And I do not feel as a citizen that I cannot go down Ross Street.
It is a particular problem because of the setup for entrance and egress from both of those places. You're exactly on target with the concern. I don't know what we can do, but I absolutely will ask staff to look at it.
All right.
And we'll try and get back to you with an answer, okay?
Okay, thank
On
you.
both those items. Very good comments, thank you. Having those eyes and ears in the community is a pretty good deal. Anybody else would like to speak? If not, we'll be adjourned. Thank you very much for your participation today.